Hey everyone, welcome to Wealth Rewired podcast. I'm your host, Mark Robinson, and welcome to another episode. I hope you've been enjoying the last 6 or so episodes. We've been talking a little bit about a future bot that we're bringing in early next year, which is, again, right, I'm really excited for, guys. Put a lot of effort into it, and it's really starting to hum nicely. So today I wanted to talk about the 5 money games that you must win right before you start investing seriously. Yeah. And it's important to get these into a good balance. It'll get you to understand exactly how to do it all. And yeah, I'm really excited for it, right? So let's delve right in. Yeah. So look, number one, to me, I think it's always important, right, is the cash flow game. Right, these are the 5 games, right? So first one is cash flow. Now, there's an old saying, right? Cash is king, right? And one of my early mentors, she said, yeah, but cash flow is queen, right? And we all know who runs the kingdom, yeah? The queendom, yeah? Without a doubt, right? So, and I love that, right? Cash flow is queen, and it always is, you know. Look, not you can't always fix problems, right? Financial problems with cash flow. I know that sounds weird, but quite often more cash flow doesn't mean that more stability, right? It's what you do with that cash flow is the most important thing. I've seen people turn over millions and millions and millions of dollars, but they still increase their debt. They end up paying way too much tax, or they end up with tax liabilities, etc., 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 right? And all they have to do is just do a couple of tweaks, right? And all those issues that they have would go away, and they could use that cash flow to build a business, to build more assets, to etc., etc. Yeah. So without a doubt, cash flow is the oxygen of wealth, right? It's not the cherry on top. To me, it should always be the, first and foremost, right? When you're going into an investment. Capital growth is fantastic for different strategies, but and it's why I've never been a big fan of negatively geared properties, right? So there's a strategy in Australia called negative gearing. Yeah. And this is where you can buy a property. It might cost you $100 a week, $50 a week, whatever the case may be, but you're getting incredible tax benefits. The way that some people describe it, you tax your partnership with the tax man, the tenant, and you, right? And you ultimately want to have the tax man and the tenant pay most of for the property, and you chip in a little bit. Yeah, that's sort of how the whole negative gearing works. However, you can only buy a certain amount of those properties before you run out of money, right? And if things change, you don't get the tax benefits, all that sort of stuff, it becomes a burden on you, right? And you are relying on capital growth. And I've seen people choose the wrong property and they don't get any capital growth, or if they do, it's 10 years away, yeah? And it's been costing them $100 a week for 10 years, right? So there are pros and cons, guys, but to me, cash flow should be always the first thing we look at. It's not the cherry on top. And if your cash flow is messy, your investing will always be emotional, right? So if your cash flow is messy, your investing will always be emotional, right? You can't grow wealth when you're consistently firefighting bills. And you need to do audits, right? You need to make sure, is every dollar that's going out of my bank accounts, do I have to actually send it out? Right? And if you do, what do we need to do about it, right? Right now, guys, I can tell you, cash flow mastery gives you options, and options creates confidence. Yeah? Because most people think they have an income problem. In reality, they probably just have a cash flow pattern problem. If it's consistency, whatever the case may be. I'll give you an example, right? My eldest daughter, she was used to a fortnightly pay. And when she was heading off to London, in the UK, most of it's monthly pay. And I said, hey, babe, you know what you could do, right? Is your very first pay you get, put it into a separate bank account and pay yourself fortnightly, because I can promise you, when you see all that money go into one account, you think you've got more than you do, right? And you'll run out of money by the time you run out a month. Yeah. Gotta love kids, right? They they do exactly whatever they want to do. Yeah. However, she did admit that she wished she had done that right from the start, right? Because it's way harder to try and implement that in the middle. Yeah. So yeah, so and why I brought that up is because I wanted her to have that pattern, right, that she's used to, rather than trying to generate a monthly pattern and if she's used to a fortnightly or weekly pattern, right? The second one is the debt game. Now, this is important too, right? Because there's smart debt, stupid debt, and emotional debt, right? And you've got to know the difference. So avoiding debt doesn't make you safe, but managing it well makes you powerful, right? Because without a doubt, guys, debt is a tool, but if you mishandled, it's a weapon that cuts you instead of building your wealth, right? And the shame around debt keeps people stuck longer than the debt itself. Wealthy people, we don't fear debt, right? We control it, we structure it, we make it work for us. I really want you to understand that, yeah? Number 3 is the risk game, right? Without a doubt, risk is unavoidable, but reckless risk is optional. Risk is unavoidable, but reckless risk is optional. Even leaving money in a bank, right, is a risk. And it's actually bigger than you think, right? Not just because inflation is eating away at that money, but also the fact that banks can legally steal your money, right? Legally steal your money if they get in trouble. It's called the bail-in laws. And most Western countries now have those bail-in laws, right, to protect their banks. Not you, their banks. Yeah? Your nervous system decides your risk tolerance long before your brain does, right? And if you understand that, right, and you'll understand that wealthy people play calculated risk games, not emotional ones, right? If you don't understand risk, markets will teach you the hard way with invoices. Yeah. Right. I've always said you'll pay for your education one way or another, right? Number 4, it's the leverage game. Leverage is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results, right? And because it's not about working harder, it's about multiplying your impact. And there are at least 3, there's probably a bit more, right? Forms of leverage: time, money, and people, right? Now, the people one can be other people's skills, other people's money, other people's time, other people's knowledge, right? All those sorts of things can happen in there, yeah? And most people will hit a ceiling because they refuse to hand off control. And that's whether you're in business or an employee, whether you're investing, right? I see so many people wanting to learn everything, every single strategy, rather than focusing on building a portfolio that suits them and then leveraging other people's skills and bring them in when they're needed. Yeah? Because I can tell you right now, you cannot build wealth without leverage, period. All right? Or if you can, it's going to take you 60, 70, 80, 100 years to do so. Yeah? And number 5 is the freedom game. All right? Freedom is the ultimate scorecard, not net worth, right? True wealth is where you are fully in control of your time, not bank balances, right? The freedom game, it's won through systems, not hustle. Your future self cares more about lifestyle alignment than bragging rights, right? Because when you design your life first, money becomes the tool, not the master. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. And the reason why these 5 games come before investing is because investing amplifies your habits, good or bad. Yeah. Right. These games are the foundations that protect you from stupid mistakes, because without them, you're gambling, you're not investing. And each game strengthens your investor identity. The future self bot, right, will become the scorecard for these games: daily, weekly, monthly. Does it make sense, guys? Alrighty. Hey, your task for this week of the Wealth Rewired. Hope you're enjoying the task, guys. Please give us some comments, and feedback. We'd love to expand or, get rid of if you want. Doesn't really matter. Yeah. So for the next 24 hours, do this. Give each of game a score out of 10. Cash flow, debt, risk, leverage, or freedom. right? Circle your lowest score and then ask yourself, what would future me do to improve this score this week? And write down one action and then do it within the next 24 to 48 hours. And what I would add to that, guys, is to that action, put it in your diary, because we genuinely believe if it's not in your diary, it's not going to get done. Yeah? Because I can tell you right now, guys, small wins in these 5 games transform your entire financial future. Hopefully that was useful, guys. I'm loving, I'm enjoying these tasks at the moment, guys. So thank you so much. As always, guys, if you liked it, click the thumbs up button, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. And as always, guys, if you've got any comments or feedback, chuck them in the comments. We will always answer all of them. See you on the next one. Bye for now.